we continue with today's session, it is so important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Cohorts, Esquimalt, and Lekwungen, Songhees ancestors and families. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. Welcome. And to make sure everybody's in the right room today, we are talking about the MA in Executive and Organizational Coaching. So with me here today, I have Dr. Zoe MacLeod, and my name is Emara Angus, and we're going to be hosting today's session. Behind the scenes, we also have our enrollment team. So if you have any questions whatsoever, as I mentioned, pop them in the chat. We'll be addressing them in the chat, or we'll address them at the end during our question and answer period. So today's agenda, welcome and get to know one another. We're doing that right now. Thank you for sharing where you're joining us from. It's so cool to see people from all over Canada and the world joining us. Then we're going to go into program information. We'll talk about the application process and requirements and questions at the end. Our location, we're in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. We are near Vancouver and Seattle. Those are the closest nearest cities, but we are on Vancouver Island. So we are on a very large island here. Our top 3 industries in Victoria are advanced technology, tourism and hospitality, and education. And as I mentioned, we're one of the mildest climates in Canada. It's not too cold here today. It's maybe 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. But you can go for walks and hikes and bike rides almost any day of the year. It's really a beautiful place to live. I'm actually curious, if you've been to Victoria, British Columbia before, please use the reactions feature and give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't been to Victoria before, but you really want to come visit, give me the heart emoji. Okay, whoa, I see 22 people have been here or maybe even live here. There's a few people who want to come visit but haven't yet. Awesome, well, I hope everybody has a chance to come visit us, and make sure you check out the Royal Roads grounds. So this is a few images of our campus. On the top left is Hatley Castle. You might even recognize it from movies such as X-Men or Deadpool. And it's really a beautiful campus, and the castle overlooks the Esquimalt Lagoon. So if you look to the bottom left, that's an image of the Esquimalt Lagoon. It's just a beautiful bird sanctuary. And the top right, you can see an image of a bridge in our gardens. So you have these beautiful gardens on campus that you can wander around and explore. They're a great way to break up your day if you're here on campus for a residency or for a visit. And the bottom right is an image that just basically depicts that we have been teaching and learning online for over 25 years here at Royal Roads University. So why explore Royal Roads University? Here we see life as a qualification. So we understand that every single person in the room here today has joined us from a different background or career path. And that's what makes Royal Roads so unique and so special, because we understand that and we value that. We also take that in with our admissions. So we have both a standard and a flexible admission, where we understand that your past experience has influenced who you are, and we look at that through our admission. Profs also who know your name. So that's really important to us here. First names first. We get to know everybody's name very quickly because you're way more than a student number to us here. And it's really learning based on life. So there's not that division between theory and practice. It's all integrated. So things that you're learning in the program, you're basically able to apply in the real world the very next day. And we also have a cohort model. So the people that you learn with and meet and learn from will be your connections for life. And we were really just built differently from day one. And we're going to be talking more about that in today's session. And at Royal Roads University, we're also an Ashoka U Changemaker campus. So what does that mean to be an Ashoka U Changemaker campus? Well, it means that we have a designation that recognizes colleges and universities that have embedded social innovation as one of our core values. So here at Royal Roads, we really believe in leading and empowering others to lead positive change in the world. And now I'm so pleased to welcome up Dr. Zoe MacLeod, who will be taking over the next section of the webinar and talking about the program structure. Welcome, Zoe.
Thanks so much, Emara, and so great to be with you all. I see lots of familiar names popping in as we get you admitted into the room. Thank you for your interest in the brand new Master of Arts in Executive and Organizational Coaching. As Mara mentioned, my name is Zoe MacLeod. My role at the university is Associate Vice President for Professional and Continuing Studies, which houses this program and a whole lot more, including a suite of graduate certificates, diplomas, professional and applied programs, Indigenous community programming, continuing education, and even English language training. So there's a lot going on in our little shop. It's likely our paths have crossed if you've completed the graduate certificate in executive coaching, and it's really nice to see your faces for those of you who are on camera, and of course to see your names as you've come in. While we're getting started, it would be great to know if you've completed the graduate certificate or any of our advanced certificate courses in coaching, and so if you wanted to throw that into the chat, that would be helpful for me as we go along as well. So I'll ask Emara just to move to the next slide, please. So why a master's degree, especially in executive and organizational coaching? And for the most part, because you asked, developing new programs in academic institutions isn't always easy. For a decade, we have been working to understand the needs of this new profession and of practicing coaches. We've been listening and we've been learning, and we're really excited to be able to launch a new degree in this field. We know that we just scratched the surface in the graduate certificate program. And so for those of you who have completed the program and are here today because you're interested in moving into the master's degree, we'll talk a lot more about that. For those of you who have not completed the certificate and are interested in the whole degree writ large, we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Our alumni asked us for more learning, more depth, more contextual offerings, essentially to supplement the foundational learning from the graduate certificate. We know that there is so much more to learn. We also know that the world is changing and fast. And if you look around right now, leaders sure require conversations that will inspire hope and opportunities to engage in powerful visioning for desired and sustained change. It's a pretty hard place to be in organizations right now. We also know that this is a relatively new field, professional coaching. More research is needed in this field. And so this is really an opportunity to create new and applied research and to contribute to the scholarly body of work here. So go on to the next slide. Thanks, Emara. And most of you already know that Royal Roads is a leader in this space, first in Canada to launch a degree that I'm aware of. The global pandemic has certainly created many challenges, and with it some opportunities. So what an amazing time, even if it's not just a wee bit tricky, to be exploring how to help people think through these challenges from an organizational perspective. Many of us have been thinking about priorities, reviewing and reflecting on what's going on in the world, and how can we help people to move towards their true potential. As many of you will know and have encountered, the last almost 2 years have been extremely taxing. It takes stamina, courage, increasing resilience to step into leadership roles, never mind managing people, managing processes, sometimes even panic during this pandemic. And for those of us in organizations, there are often seldom opportunities to talk to others in a safe space and think through how to move forward when there is so much uncertainty. Coaching is a prime profession to assist people to do that work and to help humanity flourish. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we know the field will benefit from further research. We know that you will benefit from deepening your learning and your practice, and we're pretty sure the world will benefit from both. Next slide, please. So in short, we're going to talk just quickly high level about the program. Many of you will know some of it already if you've completed the grad cert, and we'll skip through any of the kind of details and get to questions and encourage you to reach out and ask us, because some of you will have varied reasons and pathways for us to explore as we move forward. So as you will see from the slide, the degree is a 36 credit degree. It's a modular and flexible degree program that starts with the graduate certificate in executive coaching. So if you've already done that part, you're 9 credits in. And then transitions to advanced coaching courses where you'll deepen your learning in areas such as coaching psychology, the ethics of coaching, impact and evaluation of coaching. And so the program essentially has stackable credentials. The 9 credit graduate certificate credential provides a pathway into the master's degree that you essentially stack on top. So students must successfully complete the graduate certificate in order to transfer into the degree completion. For those of you who have already completed some of the core courses or elective courses through the advanced coaching practice or certificate as well, we'll be working with you on individual completion plans too. So we'll talk a little bit more about all of those things as we move forward. The program currently has 2 completion options. So students will do a series of courses and then have an option to do an applied project, which takes about 6 months while they're doing 2 other courses, or they can apply to do a thesis option. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that next. Next slide, please, Emara. So again, if you haven't done the executive coaching program, you would start the program there. You'd apply to the graduate certificate in executive coaching. And this is usually 6 to 7 months, depending on where holidays fall. The program starts with a blended course that consists of some online pre-work, a 6-day virtual residency, or essentially an intensive week, and then finishes with a virtual capstone at the end of the program. In the middle, in the sandwich, students take 2 distance courses and throughout do a lot of applied learning and practice. And for those of you who have completed it, you will agree there's a lot of intensive work happening in that space where you're really excelling your coaching skills, honing your coaching skills and abilities. And once you've completed this first module, that graduate certificate, you'll apply to complete the master's degree and transfer those credits over to the degree. So the next slide talks a little bit about what the master's courses look like. So currently, you need to complete 5 core courses that are listed here. The first one is bolded for 2 reasons. One, the title is in the process of changing, though the content will not, and it will soon be listed as Transformative Practice, Coaching for Global Impact. And the second reason it's bolded is that this course is the residency or the in-person week, currently scheduled for June 20th to 24th for our first round. It is scheduled to be on campus at Royal Roads, though we all know that things can change quickly, and so if we need to pivot, we will. But our hope is that you will be able to join us on campus for that particular week. In particular, that residency will invite you to reconnect with your learning, reignite your passion for this work, if you need reigniting, and also engage with inspiring thought leaders who will provoke new approaches for transformative practice with an emphasis on the impact coaching can have on individuals and organizations. So then we see the courses are actually listed in order of completion. And once you complete the core courses, you'll have the option to complete the degree in 2 ways. One, the applied project, where you take 2 more courses. And so we've got a series of electives that you're able to choose from. And then you complete the applied project within a 6-month time frame. The second completion option invites you to apply for the thesis track, which really allows for a year of scholarly research and writing. And of course, these options will be explained in thorough detail during the program. They'll be quite individualized as you start to select your own topic areas for either project or a thesis. Essentially, the applied project option is a bit more of a fast track, but for the most part, you know, if you're interested in advancing the field and advancing research in the field, then the thesis might be a really interesting option for you as well. And that would take about a year. Now, it could take less than a year. It's up to you. It depends on your writing and your supervisor and all kinds of other things, but that's kind of within the time frame that you would have. So of course, as mentioned, if you've already completed some of the core courses and elective courses through the Advanced Coaching Practice Certificate, we'd be working with you on what's left for you to complete in order to attain the credential and the degree. So more to follow there for sure. I think the next slide essentially talks a little bit about the International Coaching Federation. And I know a little bit about this because currently I'm the chair of the International Coaching Federation's Coaching Education Board. The accreditation is evolving. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that anyone interested in moving into to get their credential with the ICF will need to do anything different. It means that as an organization, we need to do something a little bit different. So currently we are an accredited coach training provider, and the graduate certificate will remain accredited in their new accreditation process, which is called a level 2. So basically the accredited coach training program moves from that 4-letter acronym over to something called level 2. And so that program will remain accredited. And one of the reasons why we've kept them sort of separate. So 3 offerings of the graduate certificate per year at this time. And then once you've completed that certificate, you can transfer into the MA. We're still currently working with the International Coaching Federation to determine whether or not the master's degree portion of the program should be accredited. There is the intent that the education hours would be suitable for you to apply towards the MCC if that's of interest to you, depending on where you are in your career. But it's also possible that you've probably already done enough education hours for the MCC pathway. So more to learn and more to do there. But just to let you know that we're still in really good terms with the International Coaching Federation and the process there. So I think that's it for me at this moment. I think I pass it back to you, Emara, and then I'll be here for questions after we get through this little piece.
Thank you so much, Zoe. This is actually a great opportunity to use the reactions feature for everybody in the room and to give Zoe a round of applause. Thank you. Oh, some party emojis. Okay, that was fun. And if you have any questions that's come up from anything that Zoe has mentioned, feel welcome to pop them in the chat now. We will get to them at the end of the session. And now we're going to jump into how to apply. So I wanted to mention that everything is on the website as well too. So this different standard admission, flexible admission, application deadlines, all of that is on the website. So I'm going to walk you through it, but if you have any questions after this, you can always reach out to an enrollment advisor, and we do our best to keep the information up to date on the website. So for standard admission for this program, it's a completion of either an undergraduate 4-year or comparable degree, or a graduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution, and normally at least 3 years of relevant full-time experience. And if English is not your primary language, please review our English language requirements. And I know Lisa will pop a link about that in the chat for you. So now we have our flexible admission as well. And to be considered for flexible admission, applicants would normally require at least 7 years of extensive relevant work experience and some post-secondary education. And I really want to emphasize that all of our admissions are done case by case. So we work with you. We look at the application that you've submitted, and it's assessed case by case. So never self-select yourself out. If you have any questions, always reach out to us, whether your experience is considered relevant, or if you're wondering what program is the best fit for you, reach out, connect, talk to us. We're here to support you and to help you through this process. So some key dates, they're on the website, but you might want to mark them down now. The program start date, it's coming up June 6, 2022, and the application deadline is March 6, 2022. You don't actually have to wait till the application deadline to apply. You can apply right now, and we'll look at the application as it comes in. So that's just the deadline for the application, but you're welcome to apply now, and I'm going to tell you how you can do that. So how you can apply, you're going to open up an account on our website if you don't already have one. So you can go to how to apply, and you're going to start your account, and you'll pay a fee of $128 and some change. And that's how you start your application. We also require some supporting documents. So the supporting documents look like official transcripts from any past post-secondary education. We want them sent to us either in a sealed envelope directly from the institution that you completed your education at, or we also accept them by email if they're sent directly from the institution to us. We also ask for a detailed resume. So this is beyond what somebody may use to apply for a job. This is something that we really want to use to get to know you. So in your detailed resume, you'll list things like previous work experience, any memberships and associations that you're part of. You'll also want to include any volunteer experience. So we outline all the different things that we'd like to see on your detailed resume on our website. So my recommendation is to go there and you can just follow along and kind of hit all those bullets that we outline there. And now my favorite part of the how to apply, personal statement and statement of intent. The reason why this is my favorite part, I recently applied for a program at Royal Roads, is because this is really your why. This is your why, and it gives you that time to really look into why are you applying for this program? What are your career goals? What do you hope to gain from this program? What do you hope to bring from this program? And I just found that really just, it emphasized for me my purpose in applying and why I wanted to do this for myself professionally and personally. So favorite part of an application. And we also require 2 letters of reference. So I actually really recommend writing a personal statement or statement of intent first, and then sharing it with the people who you've asked to write your letters of reference. So that way they can really understand your why, and they can incorporate that in their letter of reference. So tuition, here we are. You can look at the screen here. We have a few different costs outlined. So if you're wanting to do your MA in Executive and Organizational Coaching and you haven't done the grad cert yet, if you're a domestic student, it is $34,000 and $277. If you're looking to do it as an international student, it's a little bit higher at $41,121, but not significant difference. And for those of you who have mentioned that you've already done your GC in executive coaching, the cost for you to do the program is less because we take into account that you've already done part of it. So that would be $23,977. And all of these are outlined on our website as well. And we understand at Royal Roads that education is an investment. It's a worthy investment, but it is an investment. So we have resources available to support you. Financial aid at Royal Roads University is really helpful in supporting you to either look into things like loans or awards or scholarships or any other funding. So I highly recommend at this point, while you're considering the program, connect with financial aid. You can set up an appointment or you can look on their website and see the different resources they have to offer. So that's the support that we have there in place for you. And we also have application support. So we have our Lisa, as you've already met in the chat, she is an enrollment advisor and she's able to support you with lots of different things. And I know she's probably supporting you already through the chat, but in-depth program detail, if you need any support with your application process, if you're looking into more information about your standard or flexible admission and which one would kind of work for you, and any other information like that. So don't hesitate, please connect with us. We're here to support you and help you through your educational journey. So you can reach an enrollment advisor at learn.more@royalroads.ca. That's the email address you want to use if you're reaching if you're within Canada. And if you're an international student coming from outside of Canada, you want to connect with learn.more.international@royalroads.ca. Now we're coming up to the end of the session, and I saw some questions coming in here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to jump to questions. I know the first one I saw at the very beginning that I took note of is, Zoe, somebody is wondering about general cohort size. What's our cohort like? If you could speak a bit more about that, that would be wonderful.
You bet. Well, I don't know yet. Because this is the first one, we're kind of waiting to see what that looks like. I anticipate that we will have a much smaller cohort size than we would have in the certificate program. So for those of you who would have been in a certificate, probably between 40 and 50 students. For the first while, we'll see how this goes, but my hope is around 25. Between maybe 25 and 30 as a smaller, more intimate opportunity for the degree. And then we'll see what the interest looks like after the first couple of rounds.
All right, thank you, Zoe. So the next question I see is, what is the timeline cutoff for recognizing the CEC course completion for entrance or credits in the degree program?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think what you're asking is, for example, if you did the program 10 years ago, will that be okay? And I need to check in on that answer actually with the registrar's office, because I think there is a limit on that. And I think in other programs it's 7 years, but I will need to go back and have a look. And if there is a cutoff, then we will figure out a way to catch you up. So I'll need to work with the registrar's office on that policy.
The next question is, if we're starting from scratch, would we be applying to the master's degree or the graduate certificate?
That's a great question. If you're starting from scratch, you would apply to the graduate certificate program. And then once you are successfully completed the graduate certificate program, we'll work with you to apply into the master's completion program.
Okay, there's so many questions coming in that I'm doing my best to kind of keep up with the questions while asking them to you, Zoe. So the next question is, I'm interested in a graduated incremental approach over time. Is that feasible?
It's sort of feasible. So for example, the thing you would do is start the graduate certificate first, so the 7-month program first. You then will be able to take some of the courses from the degree in what we call general studies, so more of an open enrollment. You join students in the master's program, and then you would apply to the program and we transfer credit over. So it is possible to do that, but it probably makes sense to have a conversation one-on-one. We can talk about a pathway and a plan if that makes sense for you.
Okay, and the next question we have is, I'm curious if Royal Roads has looked at any of the new team coaching offerings, for example, from Henley in the UK.
We certainly have. We certainly have a group and team coaching course in the degree program as well. And I actually think we have a faculty person here with us today. We pay close attention to what's going on in the field, making sure that the competencies, there's new ICF team competencies, team coaching competencies that we are aligning with in that particular course as well. We're also exploring the possibility of taking that course outside of the degree as well and offering it separately through professional and continuing studies. So more conversations there, but certainly we are watching what others are doing and mostly collaborating where possible with those other institutions as well.
Are there any credits transferable from other coaching programs such as Coactive Training Institute?
Sure. So we're just working on some articulation agreements with other institutions as well. I noticed somebody had asked about Adler. UBC, Fielding, and Adler for sure. Those who are coming from university settings, we will be working to have a transfer agreement in place so that you don't need to do the first part of the program, so you wouldn't need to complete the graduate certificate program. If you're coming from other coach training programs and are interested to, you're already a trained coach, you've done coaching elsewhere, then it's more of a conversation and likely it will be 6 of the 9 credits. You probably still wouldn't do the graduate certificate. You might just need to take 1 more course to satisfy the degree completion. So again, those are conversations to have with me moving forward. And again, we'll work on some individual articulation agreements and transfer credits for those folks coming from elsewhere.
Okay, the next question we have is, when do you anticipate that you will know whether or not the program will become ICF Level 3 certified?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, the ICF accreditation process is actually just happening at this moment in time. I don't even think I could apply for Level 3 accreditation at this moment. We're just in the process of transitioning our current accreditation from ACTP to Level 2. And so with the master's program, we're working closely with the ICF. There are some particular criteria that we need to meet, and one of them at the moment is we have to have completed one cohort already before we can actually successfully apply to the certifications or accreditation. So working with the ICF on that, we'll share updates as soon as we have them.
These are great questions. Thank you, everyone. So we have another one here, and it's at which stage do we need to determine either the thesis or course route?
Yeah, that's a good question. It will take you a little while to figure that out in the beginning. So, you know, if you're coming into the program, we'll work with you probably for the first 6 months, having some conversations, talking about what makes the most sense for you. Your pathway may change along the way. You might start out thinking about doing a project and then decide that you want to do a thesis. So there's lots of opportunity for shifting along the way. The way it's set up in the first, you're basically doing coursework for a year until you do either the project or the thesis. So we've got lots of time to work together to figure out which is the right path for you.
Can you complete your GCEC all remotely?
Yes, you can. So at the moment, our graduate certificate in executive coaching is remote. In fact, I welcomed a cohort this morning. And so for those of you who have gone through that before, the March dance is always one of my favorite days. We currently are running those programs remotely, virtually. And at this moment in time, the plan is to return to in-person for the next delivery and for the September delivery, although we'll wait and kind of see what happens. But our intention is to always have the January offering as a virtual offering. So for those who may not have been able to join us because travel is prohibitive, this is an opportunity for us to kind of open up some access across the globe, perhaps.
Okay, so another question about the graduate certificate in executive coaching. If you've already completed that program, do you start the master's program in June or do you start it after?
Yeah, so if you've already completed the graduate certificate in executive coaching, you'd apply to the master's stream and you would start in June for this round. I did see some other questions about when's the next one after this, and we're just working on the schedule now. So we have got some work to do in getting our facilitators and faculty lined up, but we wanted to get this one up and off the ground, and it won't be this year, so it won't be another one this year. It'll be next year for sure. Just depends on whether it's the spring or the fall of next year.
Okay, and I have a clarification question. So I'm just going to read it as I see it. So if you're starting out with the GCEC and then you go to the master's, do we have to redo all of the documents to get into the master's program?
Yeah, well, I think Lisa responded in the chat on that one. You know, if you've got transcripts that you've already sent, you wouldn't need to resend those transcripts, although of course, and we've got your World Roads one, but if you've done anything after that, it would be helpful for us to know. And then of course, most of your documents, your personal references, your statement of intent would have changed. So it's likely that a refresh would be important to do. So you will need to resubmit some of those things. But Lisa can tell us a little bit more about that if need be, but I think she's put that in the chat as well.
Thank you. And the next question is, I'm hoping to take the team and group coaching courses as a general studies course. Is this possible?
It is possible. All of the courses that are in the core courses and probably the elective courses, for those who have completed the graduate certificate, so you're already a certified executive coach, you will have the ability to take those courses individually if you want and join our students in the master's programs as well. Lisa's put in some general studies information in the chat. And group and team coaching currently is scheduled for January of next year, but we are also in the works of exploring what a fall offering might look like as well.
Thank you, Zoe. And the next question is there any focus on organizational development in this program? The person who is asking this question originally thought it might be coaching, organizational development, and health initially around this program.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we do talk about organization development sort of writ large, but the focus really here is about the profession of coaching, and that's kind of where we went. You know, obviously we're talking about organizational coaching as well. So for those folks who are coaching inside organizations, there's no shortage of organizational development contexts that we need to explore, and some of that will be explored in some of the courses. And of course, you bring your own context and lens with you to the program. And then certainly, if you're interested in that space, what a great opportunity to do an applied project or a thesis focused in that area.
Okay, and then the next question is, with the masters from Royal Roads University, would the ICF require additional testing or other requirements for their MCC?
So nothing will change at this moment in time. Nothing is set to change on how ICF conducts their credential process. So that process would still be the same, whether you're going for ACC, PCC, or MCC. The training aspect is not changing. It's just our accreditation process is changing. So that shouldn't be an issue for you if you're working towards one of your credentials with them. That process won't change. So if you had to take a test before, you'll have to take a test again with the ICF, those kinds of things. So that process shouldn't change.
All right, a few more questions. This is great having all these questions come in. Thank you, everyone, for submitting them. It's really great to be able to go through and answer things that you're wondering about. So the next question is, if you begin with the MA in June and have already finished CEC and CACP, when are the next online courses offered?
So if you finished both, then that's probably a good conversation for us to have an individual conversation to see what the pathway looks like and what you need to complete in order to finish the degree. So some folks have completed the certificate, some folks have gone on and continued to finish the 3 more courses of the advanced certificate. Some of those might be electives in the program and some of them might be core courses. So it's really a matter of looking at what you've completed and then creating a pathway. We know that the residency course is brand new. So you wouldn't have completed that course, and that's the June 6th course that starts on June 6th and has a residency component from June 20th to the 24th. So you would need to complete that program regardless, and then of course the project and or the thesis. So there's still a bit of work to do, but if you've got lots of those courses completed, then it really makes sense to have a one-on-one and we look at your path and what needs to happen and build a completion plan for you individually.
I have another question here. Somebody is saying that they've done an 8-month personal and team coaching certification last year, specializing in transformational and executive coaching, licensed by the IAC. Is this master's program at Royal Roads complementing that background, or will it be similar content to what I've already gone through?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will probably be complementary. Again, it would probably be worth a conversation so that we could talk about what the learning outcomes were for that program and how they marry to the learning outcomes for this program. There may well be opportunity for us to look at that and say, well, since you've done that, that would be equivalent to these courses and you only need to do X, Y, and Z in order to complete. So I'd need to look more in depth with you in that content.
Next question is there a business startup component to this program?
Yes, there isn't. I mean, there is and there isn't. Certainly in the executive coaching certificate, you start that process and you start thinking about how you're going to market yourself and promote yourself as an executive coach. In the master's degree, though, our intent really here is to focus on the field of professional coaching and the breadth and depth at which you need to understand the sort of scholarly aspect and also the application. We do very frequently have requests for the business development aspect. It may be that it is part of our accreditation process as well, as the ICF is considering some of those things. But for the most part, we find that that particular content is offered various places in various ways, through chapters, through the ICF, and through other continuing learning opportunities. So it isn't necessarily part of it, but it could certainly be part of a project as well. So if that's something that you're interested to explore, that could be a part of the completion of the degree.
Okay, we have a question about the faculty who teach in the program. So within the faculty who would act as thesis advisors, are there specialties research?
So we're going to have a varied approach here, because some of those folks who will act as thesis supervisors, you might know them, we might know them. We're just in the process of compiling the list and vetting those supervisors and the approach. We work with the internal Royal Roads Thesis office to put those processes in place. So we'll have more information on thesis supervisors soon. We're getting some advice on whether or not we provide you those supervisors, or whether you can seek them out yourself. So more to come, and we've got a little bit more time before we need those answers. But again, happy to talk with you. And if you know people who would make great thesis supervisors, please have them reach out to me as well.
Wonderful. So the next question is, are you requiring students to be ICF certified or to be certified by the time of completion of the program?
No.
Okay. So our next question is, are the MA faculty similar to those in the CEC program?
Yeah, so some of the faculty will be teaching in the master's program. Certainly they would have been teaching in some of the advanced coaching courses already. And of course, we'll be bringing in some new faculty and facilitators as well. So some are coming in and some new ones along the way.
All right. The next question we have is, can we expect students to be popping in and out of cohorts, given the varying degrees of completion between the different programs?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we're going to see, especially in this first round, we might see a few folks who have already completed some courses, and so more in some courses than others. Once we kind of get rolling, we'll start to see a kind of a bigger cohort of folks who are on a path. Yeah, for the most part, I would say we will have the opportunity to have some folks coming in, those though who would have completed the certificate and or training elsewhere. So it won't be those who have come in and have never taken a coaching course before and wanted to learn about coaching in that time or in that course. So.
And another question, if you could just touch on the project versus thesis part of the program briefly again.
Sure. So the intent here is that a lot of our students, and in fact, even when we were developing the proposal, which actually goes through a very rigorous process, and then to the ministry for approval, the intent was to have a couple of completion options. Not everybody in the field of professional coaching who's playing in this space wants to do a thesis or is interested in the scholarly academic writing. And so we wanted to make sure that we had kind of two options at least. One was the applied project, and the applied project could be really anything that makes sense for you. And we'll have lots of more help in determining what a good applied project looks like. But maybe you're working in an organization as an internal executive coach, and you're interested in creating a coaching culture, and you want to do an intervention, and you want to evaluate the intervention and see how that worked at the end. So it could be that you're writing that up as part of the project. And from a thesis perspective, you'd really be looking at more of an intent to focus on a scholarly dissertation. And so, an active lit review, probably some sort of applied research methodologies. I mean, lots of things that we could talk about there in great detail. My thesis when I did my doctoral program was focused on the impact of coaching for women in academia. Similar type model, you're focusing on one particular question you're wanting to answer. So lots more to explore there, and certainly one-on-one, and we'll have much more information about the thesis and applied project options on the website as we move forward. The other opportunity is to have a course completion option. Some folks have already asked about that, not interested in doing a project, not interested in doing a thesis, just want to take more courses and do more learning. So we're looking at kind of going back to our academic council and exploring that. Won't happen for the first round, might happen in the process before you get to the applied project and the thesis, but not for the start, because it takes a little bit of time to get those changes through in an academic system.
Okay, so the next question, I'm just going to read
it. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of questions.
I was about to say that the next question is going to be your 30th question.
Excellent.
And I'm keeping track, and I'm impressed too. Usually webinars, we have a few questions, but this is great because—
And not bad considering I've only given 22 answers.
Oh, interesting. So I'm going to read this question as it's written. So I'm curious, I completed the MA Leadership and GCEC at Royal Roads. The MA was at the standard one would expect for an MA in terms of academic writing, etc. The GCEC was as much, if not more work, but the requirements for academic writing were nowhere close to the MA requirements. How will this degree line up in terms of academic writing standards?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm curious who asked it. But first of all, the MA will move more towards scholarly writing. So it's still a professional degree, and we really want to focus on the application of the learning. So, but at the same time, because you would have done the certificate already, we want to hold you capable as a coach and now focus on the masterful piece of the program. And so if you haven't done scholarly writing before, I strongly recommend taking an academic writing course. We have one. You can learn more about it on our website as well. I know for those who do a lot of practical work, and especially in the coaching field, the academic writing is something that's a bit scary, perhaps, for some. And that course in particular is a fantastic course. And really, it's just shifting your brain to another piece that you might have not done in the past. And so, especially if you're doing a thesis, you will need to have that scholarly writing turned on. And if you're doing more of the core courses, there is a research course where you'll need to kind of think that through a little bit. And so the writing component will sort of up the ante as compared to the executive coaching certificate program.
This appears to be the last question in the chat, but I know another question or two might pop in as I mentioned that. So what are the professional and educational requirements for faculty teaching in this master's program?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like many of our faculty at Royal Roads, they are scholar practitioners, and many of them are practitioner scholars. And so, especially in an applied field like this, we really want to ensure that they are practicing coaches and bring that expertise and insight into the room. We will then also complement that with those who are playing in the scholarly space. So, for example, there are not as many PhDs and coaches in the world as you might imagine. So most folks have chosen either or. And so we're working with some folks who do have PhDs but might not have the coaching background, and then some who have MCCs and PCCs, and who have dedicated their life to the practice of coaching and are interested in the scholarly side. So it's a bit of a mix of both. For the most part, in the master's completion program, you will see faculty who have master's completion and PhD completion. And then of course, we will be bringing in lots of thought leaders and guest speakers and diverse wide of folks from across the globe to enhance the program as well.
So the next question is, when might the next cohort be?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're just getting everything lined up for this one, which is starting in June. And likely it will be either June of 2023 where we start, or perhaps the fall of 2023. So just trying to align schedules, and we really we had a promise to get this one out this spring, even though perhaps it might have been a better time to wait till the fall. Who knew what the pandemic was going to look like already at this point, but hopefully it will be over soon. And so we'll get a schedule up as soon as we can. So another year for sure.
We have a question about PhDs now. So what
Sure.
PhD program would fit with coaching, and will you be developing one? And where did you complete yours?
Thank you for the question. So I did my PhD through Fielding, and they also have an evidence-based coaching program, which will articulate into this degree as well. But I didn't do a PhD in coaching. I did a PhD in organization development and change. But within that, my focus was on the impact for coaching for women in academia. I don't think that Royal Roads has the intent to do a PhD in coaching at this time, but we do have a doctoral of social science program and a doctoral of business admin program. And again, especially if you're looking at a doctoral of social science program, the opportunity to focus that on in the coaching profession is certainly available. I know that there are a few folks actually in the doctoral program right now who we'd be happy to connect you with, who have done the coaching route. There's a few folks in there who did the graduate certificate, took a couple of advanced courses, completed their master's degree, and then moved on to the doctoral program. So lots of opportunity to continue learning in this space.
Okay, and now we're going to ask you the very last question.
Sure.
And it's about your PhD. So Zoe, is your PhD available online? The person who is looking into it can only find the preview.
Yeah, it should be available online. It's been 4 years, I think, now since I've completed that degree, and you should be able to find it through either Fielding or EBSCOhost or something like that. Happy to share it. If you're interested, you can feel free to reach out to me and I can send it to you as well.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I think this is a great time to use the reactions feature again for a round of applause. Zoe just answered 34 questions in the span of about 10 or so minutes. And if your question wasn't part of that 34, or you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to support you. Send us an email. We'll do our best to answer your question or connect you with the right person. And I just want to thank everyone today for joining us either live right now or watching the recording later. And Zoe, I want to offer you a moment to share any final words with the people in the room here today.
Thank you. Well, certainly I see even more questions popping up. I know we're going to run out of time. Please don't hesitate to reach out. This is a new program. We're doing some things a little bit different and breaking the systems a little bit. So we're gonna have some snags along the way. There's going to be things that we haven't thought of in the model and the system, but don't hesitate to reach out. I am super excited. I think this is probably going to be the first step and foray into a master's program in Canada. Others will follow suit. I'm delighted that Royal Roads has the opportunity to take the lead here, and what a fantastic learning experience it will be. I am so excited. I wish I had the energy to do another master's degree, but I don't at this moment in time. But I'm really hoping that some of you will join us. And if you have questions, you have ideas, you have people that we should connect in, please feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zoe. And thank you to all the support behind the scenes, Lisa, Francisco. It really takes a village to host one of these webinars. And thank you all for joining us today. It's been a pleasure meeting you and interacting with you through the chat. Take care. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, depending on where you are.